Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the deep end of spiritual cultivation, focusing specifically on the intense mechanics of karmic debt, deep self-reflection, and genuine repentance. We're going to unpack some ancient wisdom that really explains why our lives sometimes feel like this endless series of impossible obstacles, and more importantly, how we can actually break that cycle.
So, think about this. Can an unrepented mistake actually haunt you across 10 lifetimes? To answer that, we're going to start with the absolutely gripping historical account of Master Wuda from the Tang dynasty. It's a perfect example of just how inescapable our past actions truly are.
Imagine this. According to the texts, Master Wuda was this highly respected, deeply devout monk. In fact, he had maintained perfect spiritual discipline across 10 consecutive lifetimes. 10! Because of this incredible virtue, the emperor favored him and gave him this priceless, beautifully crafted sandalwood throne. But right in that exact moment of receiving it, Master Wuda felt a huge surge of pride. He suddenly thought he was superior to everyone else, and in that one single second of arrogance, a fatal crack opened up in his spiritual armor.
And wow, did that pride cost him. Because of that sudden ego trip, a past life enemy from the Han dynasty, someone Master Wuda had wronged 10 lifetimes ago, was finally able to penetrate his defenses. This karmic debt manifested physically on Wuda's leg as a literal human-faced tumor. It had eyes, a mouth, and it demanded repentance for this ancient betrayal. The protective deities that had guarded him for centuries, they vanished the second his mind was clouded by arrogance.
Here's the real takeaway from this. True threats don't actually strike from the outside. They wait patiently, sometimes for centuries, for an internal flaw like ego or anger or greed to just let them in. Master Wuda wasn't destroyed by the emperor's gift, right? He was brought down by his own internal reaction to it. It shows us that our own unmanaged emotions are the exact keys that unlock the door for our deepest karmic debts to find us.
Section 1. Surviving the Final Era. Now let's zoom out and look at the broader cosmic picture to see why these karmic debts are accelerating so aggressively right now. The source material lays out this fascinating cosmic timeline with 3 major eras. First up was the Green Era, marked by water disasters, where spiritual truth was only for kings. Then came the Red Era, marked by fire disasters, where teachings were restricted to scholars and monks. Today, we're in the final cycle, the White Era. This is a time of wind and spiritual disasters. But importantly, this is the era where the highest spiritual teachings, the Dharma, have descended directly to the everyday household to save humanity, right as we face 81 massive, unprecedented global disasters. But here is the terrifying part. In this final White Era, the texts warned that karmic debts are being aggressively collected 12 times faster than ever before. Everything is accelerating. You simply don't have the luxury of waiting lifetimes to pay off your spiritual debts anymore. The universe is calling in all the loans, right now. Section 2. The Mirror of Conscience. So, to survive this incredibly rapid collection of debt, we have to use the ultimate spiritual solution. The sources called this the Mirror of Conscience. And no, it's not a physical mirror, it's an internal mechanism. See, true repentance isn't just apologizing after you've already yelled at someone. It's catching the thought in this mirror of conscience before it turns into action. The text specifically notes that when a bad thought pops up, your conscience might literally signal you with a shiver in your heart or cold hands. That physical reaction? That's your spiritual alarm bell ringing. I love this quote from the Holy Teacher because it points out such a common trap. The purpose of this mirror is not to point it outward and magnify the flaws of your neighbors or your family. You have to bravely point it inward. You have to confront your own anger, your own greed, and take radical responsibility for your own mind.
Section 3. Steps to Spiritual Refinement. Let's get practical and look at the framework for elevating our spiritual state.
The source material clearly outlines 5 essential conditions that act as a roadmap for cutting off bad habits. You've got to cultivate virtue through good deeds. You must observe precepts, keeping your actions and words clean. You need a correct, unbiased mindset, a refined temperament, and finally, you have to actively fulfill the vows you make on your spiritual path.
What's really fascinating to me is the 4th condition, refined temperament, often translated as calm fire. It forces us to realize that our daily annoyances aren't just bad luck. They're actually profound spiritual tests, measuring our inner fire. If you fly into a rage because someone cut you off in traffic, well, your fire is out of control, and your spiritual foundation is weak.
The texts describe the universe as this giant, metaphorical heavenly forge. We are tested through boiling, frying, baking, stewing, and roasting. Think about it. When you feel like you're being fried, flipped back and forth by an indecisive boss, or stewed in a slow, frustrating situation, that's the heavenly forge burning away your ego. Difficult people and deeply unfair situations aren't in your way. They literally are the way. They're the exact tools refining your soul.
Which brings us to Section 4. Look inward, not outward. Let's look at a story about how easily we fail at this.
This story from the texts is pretty funny, but incredibly accurate. 4 devoted monks sit down in a dark room. They make a strict, solemn vow to observe 7 days of total silence in deep meditation. Everything's going perfectly until night falls and a sudden gust of wind blows through, making their only oil lamp flicker and threatening to leave them in total darkness.
Instantly, panic sets in. The first monk completely drops his sacred vow out of anxiety, blurting out, "The lamp is going out." The second monk, hearing this, immediately breaks his own vow just to correct the first guy, shouting, "We are not supposed to speak."
And the irony just peaks right here. The third monk gets angry and yells, "You two are stupid for talking." And finally, the fourth monk, puffed up with pride, proudly announces, "I am the only one who hasn't spoken." Literally every single one of them failed the test. They broke their vows because they were entirely focused on the external situation and the flaws of the others, instead of just keeping their own minds quiet.
It's so human, right? The text also shares a quick anecdote about a mother who scolds her son for exaggerating. She yells, "I've told you 1,000,000 times not to exaggerate." She literally uses a massive exaggeration to punish him for that exact same flaw. We constantly project our faults outward while remaining completely blind to our own habits.
So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder today. When you're faced with the intense heat of the heavenly forge, dealing with the karmic debts of your life, are you using the mirror of conscience to fix your own reflection? Or are you spending your precious time just complaining about how dirty the glass is? The choice is entirely yours. Keep reflecting, and we'll see you in the next explainer.